Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. All right, welcome to our class on St. John Chrysostom's on marriage and family life, a collection of his homilies on texts related to marriage and family life. A couple of prefatory comments before we simply jump into the introduction to the text and then the text. In the first place, this study really isn't a study on marriage as such. We're not laying the biblical groundwork for marriage. This isn't Pastor Rohde's marital or premarital counseling. We're not really taking a holistic approach. We're not really starting at ground zero with marriage and building our way up as I would do if I were teaching the class. So again, just to set our expectations, we're reading John Chrysostom, a 4th century church father, on what he has to say and preach about marriage and family life. And so we'll be just studying his comments and thinking about them more broadly. Also, by way of preface, I would say that we're guaranteed to hit some controversial and sensitive topics in this class as they arise from the scriptures and from Chrysostom himself. And that's okay. I hope that it's challenging. I hope that we don't come out of this unscathed. I hope we have opportunity to consider what we might not have considered, even if that means, what is it now? In the movie The Matrix, and this has become this whole meme thing on the internet, but I haven't really paid as much attention as I should. But in the movie The Matrix, if you remember, the main character is offered by the guiding character. The main character's name is Neo. The guiding character's name is Morpheus. Morpheus offers him a red pill or a blue pill. And the blue pill is you go back into your stupor and you don't know the truth and you live comfortably and happy, but you die a slave. Or you take the red pill and you'll know the truth, but the truth is exceedingly painful and mind-blowing and really changes the way you look at yourself. And so do you take the red pill or the blue pill? Obviously, there was a movie, in fact, 3 of them, so he takes the red pill. If he took the blue, that'd be the end right there. In many respects, what Chrysostom's going to do for us, if we'll let him, is he's going to give us a red pill. And so too will I in some of my commentary. And it may be too much, and you may disagree with me. Wouldn't be the first time, probably. So I don't take offense. I hope you won't take offense. But in our society, there is a satanic attack on the family, a satanic attack on marriage. I would even argue a satanic attack on the male, specifically as husband and father, that is above and beyond all else. Because if you can strike the shepherd, you'll scatter the sheep. Destroy the father, you'll destroy the family. Okay, so that's some of where I'm coming from. Again, there may be some uncomfortable truths, some uncomfortable things we discuss. I may not be correct on everything, and I acknowledge my biases too, because as a pastor in the 21st century, in America, where the divorce rate is over 50%, and in Orange County, where the divorce rate is over 70%, my biases are that I see a lot of the worst parts. Okay, so you may have this beautiful, wonderful experience of marriage, and what I'm saying might sound like, well, what is his problem? It's not anything like that. Fair enough, fair enough. Your mileage may vary. You may have a wonderful and blessed marriage as it is, and thanks be to God for that, taking nothing away from that. In fact, we need to learn how it is you did, what graces God poured out upon you that has been accomplished. I, as a pastor, deal with a lot of broken and conflicted and challenging marriages. And so that's where I'm coming from with many of my anecdotes and experiences that I will probably inevitably share as we go through the text. So with those sort of prefatory comments out of the way, without further ado, let us take a look, and it's only going to be a brief look, at the introduction. Again, for those of you tracking, I'll simply hold this up. You can pause it if you need and see if you can zoom in. You know you're a product of the 21st century, or at least you've been brainwashed by the 21st century, as have I. Have any of you actually found yourself doing this? It's embarrassing. You're looking at print materials, and you do one of these. Did you know? Trying to zoom in. Oh my, so embarrassing. I caught myself doing that. Anyway, pause the video, take a look. This is the text we're studying, St. John Chrysostom on marriage and family life, St. Vladimir's Press. Now, the introduction, I don't want to spend too much time here on the introduction. If you've read it, and you might love it. I don't love it. I don't love the introduction. I don't love the introduction because it is definitely influenced heavily by 20th century feminism, by some sloppy scholarship and inaccurate scholarship, and then also some of the eccentricities of Eastern Orthodoxy. You get all of that in here. So, so read at your own risk. And that's not why we're studying this book for the introduction. We're studying this book for the texts written and preached by St. Chrysostom. Okay. So on page 7, here the introduction does a good job of giving us the gist. As I mentioned, Chrysostom's a 4th century church father, and his dates, according to the internet, are roughly 347 to 407. So that would give him, if my math is correct, what, about 60 years of life? Mm-hmm. So 60 years, and most of those in the 4th century. Of course, the Edict of Milan takes place in 313. So Chrysostom is entering into the world where Christianity has been newly legalized and has gained exponentially in popularity and acceptance. He's coming after the time of, when we think of the early church persecutions, they by and large are past at this point. Now, simply starting on page 7, and we'll read just a little ways through the introduction together. The 4th century of the Christian era presented great challenges and opportunities for the Christian church. The Emperor Constantine, in first legalizing Christianity and then establishing it as the state religion, marked a new stage in the progress of the church from a small Jewish sect to the predominant faith of the Roman Empire. The church was forced by its confrontation with pagan society to deal with serious issues, both theological and pastoral. The encounter with Greeks trained in philosophical thought required the church to express its teaching in philosophical terms. Theological matters dominated the agenda of the ecumenical councils and the treatises of the great fathers. St. Athanasius of Alexandria, St. Basil of Caesarea, St. Gregory of Nazianzus, St. Gregory of Nyssa, which, by the way, is a nice little hall of fame for some of the early Eastern fathers. All of these are big names in early church theology. The practical problems arising for Christian life in a pagan society were the primary concern of St. John Chrysostom. So you can see the shift, and here Catherine Roth is the author of the introduction. She makes a nice distinction for us that while so much of the world and so much of what Christianity was doing was what we would call philosophical or academic, intellectually inclined, Chrysostom is especially interested in the practical, especially interested in preaching, especially interested in the lives of the people. Chrysostom, in fact, that name means golden mouth or golden tongue. And that was a nickname given to him because of his eloquence and because of, he is widely and largely thought to be pretty much the greatest preacher aside from Jesus to have lived. All right. Now, what is meant by these practical problems? Roth continues, among the recurrent themes of his preaching were the proper use of wealth, the correct attitude to popular entertainments, and the requirements of family life. Wow. Wow. What could be more pertinent for us in decadent, late-stage Western capitalism? Hearing it straight from Chrysostom in regard to wealth, popular entertainment, and family life. So we're looking at family life here, and you can imagine he's going to be going against the grain, against the current in the 4th century, with paganism surrounding them, infiltrating their society, and then we're going to resonate with that greatly as we consider our place here in the late 20th, early 21st century. St. John was raised at Antioch by his widowed mother, Anthusa. After an education in the pagan classics, he turned to the study of the Bible and then to monastic life. After 6 years as a monk living in the hills, he was forced by ill health to return to the city. He served as reader, deacon, and priest during 20 years at Antioch. In 398, he was taken to Constantinople and consecrated bishop. So what do you see at this early stage? As an aside, you see a quite organized, well-structured, and even hierarchical ecclesiastical polity or church order and governance. So in 398, he becomes bishop. Roth continues, his episcopate in the imperial capital was troubled by controversies and intrigues, which led to his exile in 404 and death in 407. So ultimately exiled and dies at 60 years old. St. John's earliest writings emphasize the value of celibate life. And I've just written here in the margins 1 Corinthians 7, which we'll take a look at because this is one of the places where Paul especially sets forth the merits of celibate life. Roth continues, he wrote to advise his friend Theodore, later Bishop of Mopsuestia, not to abandon the monastic life. Other works of St. John combat the attackers of monasticism and defend the preference for virginity. And here in my margins, a text we'll probably have opportunity to look at. I simply wrote Matthew 19 because here Jesus talks about the gift of celibacy, the gift of virginity, supernatural gift given to some. And so this was rightly praised in the early church, and it is probably something we've largely lost track of today. It'd be good to recover, I just don't know. I just don't know what can be recovered. Roth continues, his, Chrysostom's, early life as the son of a widow and as a young monk perhaps failed to give him the opportunity of fully appreciating the potential for grace in married life. Later, his experience as a pastor at Antioch and at Constantinople corrected this imbalance in his understanding, and later he became the great apologist for Christian marriage. Among his most faithful friends and helpers was the widow and deaconess Olympias, who may have taught him through her example and her conversion, which was continued in their letters, what the quality of a Christian woman should be. Among the problems for the church in a still largely pagan society was the development of a Christian doctrine of marriage and a Christian form of wedding. The doctrine of marriage was, of course, based on the Jewish law. Christ had modified this by forbidding divorce except in the most extreme case. I don't know how much of a true modification that is, but let's not just quibble over the words. The Pauline epistles to the Corinthians and Ephesians became the basis for the Christian teaching on marriage and virginity. The celibate life was valued as it had not been in mainstream Judaism, in view of the imminent approach of the last times. Even when the end of time failed to arrive, again, I'm going to quibble with the way she puts this, but be that as it may, the ascetic life in the form of monasticism was recognized as a sign of God's kingdom. At the same time, marriage was accepted as good. God had created humanity as male and female with the intent that they should join together even before the fall, though some of the church fathers have taught that sexual procreation was instituted after the fall. Christ blessed the wedding at Cana with his presence and performed a miracle which assisted the joyous celebration of the event. St. Paul instructs married people to remain married. St. Peter